Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name's Shadowwraith and today I'm going to be talking about Plague Marines. Now this video is a little bit of WARHAMMER again, where I'm looking at the theory side of things, looking at what they can do on paper and coming up with a plan of what they could do on the tabletop. I will be testing all of these things out in the future, but I'm so excited to get it out because it's glorious. In the name of Nurgle, it is absolutely glorious. Now, in 9th edition, Plague Marines are looking absolutely fantastic. With the Psychic approved, War of the Spider, they've got a load of cool stuff. You've got all the Plague companies that you can use, and there's loads of dirty tricks you can play. And we've been a slower army, us Death Guard players. But with the new edition, that's not such a bad thing. A, you can put anything into reserve, pretty much. So there's that way of getting your army to move about. And B, it's a very mid-board kind of addition from what I'm seeing, so it's more about holding the objectives, getting to the mid board and things like that, so people can't just castle up at the back of the board. People can still try and do that, sure, but you have got responses. Terrain is better for us, and like I said, reserves, so you can give them things to think about. On top of that, Death Guard are ridiculously tough, and yeah, I'm just going to go over some tips and tactics on what I would do and what I plan to do with my Plague Marines. So first up, we have got, for all you shooty Marine players, okay? Because we can do it better than other Marines. To an extent. Now, let's say we've got a squad of 20 Plague Marines. Sure, quite a lot of points in there, and yeah, blast weapons would be better against us, but hey, we'll start with 20, because it seems like it's the max amount of damage you can really do. So the first thing you want to do with your squad of 20, as soon as you get into range, well, you want to turn all your bolters into plague weapons by using a lovely little stratagem called Virulent Rounds. And basically what that does is it gives all Plague Marines from the unit you've picked in the shooting phase until the end of the phase, bolt weapons and models in the unit that are equipped with any kind of bolt weapon gain the ability Plague Weapons, so all your guns are now Plague Weapons. On top of that, unmodified wound rolls of a 6 has an AP of -4, which is ridiculous. So that's nice, sure, I'll take that. If you want to really go all out, or you need to reach that little bit further to get your shots off, you go with Overwhelming Generosity as well, for 1 command point. And basically what that does is it adds 6 inches to Plague Weapons. So you have to make them Plague Weapons. That's first step anyway, because that's what the whole tactic revolves around. And then you can give them an extra 6 inches to their range, which is really nice. Then we have got, and mind you, this is going to be very CP heavy, okay? But it's ridiculous. You can then move on to give all your Relentless Volley. It costs 1 command point unless the unit contains 6 or more models, so it's going to be 2 command points for this. And what it does is it makes all your bolt guns rapid fire too. So now you're firing a ridiculous amount of shots, because worst case scenario, you've had to spend all your CPs because you really needed that unit dead for whatever reason. You've now got a 30-inch range with your bolt guns and 40 shots coming from that unit. If they're in rapid fire and you're rapid fire too, you're firing 4 shots each. That is an ungodly amount of shots. Okay? Can you see where I'm going with this? Now, if you really, really want them dead, another command point, Veterans of the Long War, you're going to delete that unit. You're hitting really easily. You're wounding most things on, 3s, if it's Marine equivalent, and any 6 you roll, natural roll of a 6 does -4 AP. If you're at 18 inches, you're firing 80 shots. Yeah, and if you're within 12 inches, well, if you've done +6 inches to all your Plague Weapons with the command point, we can get to the slightly closer range tactic you can do. This one's a little bit less CP heavy, but it's still really cool. Really cool. You are going to need a Biologous Putrefier though, and we're going to bring him purely because he's got the ability Blight Racks. So basically what this does increases the strength and damage characteristic of all blight grenades carried by friendly Death Guard units by 1, whilst within 3 inches. Additionally, whilst the unit is within 3 of this model, each roll of a 6+ deals a mortal wound on the target in addition to any other damage. Now 6+ is very interesting because you spent 1 command point to increase the range of all plague weapons by 6 inches, so you can throw these 12 inches now. Then you've got that ability, so they are now strength 4 and damage 2, which is not too bad. And then you pop Veterans of the Long War on them. Okay? Yeah, so plague weapons, 1 CP. The ability to give them +1/+1 damage and strength. And then Veterans of the Long War. So there you go, +1 to wound. You are now throwing 20d6 strength 4 shots. Okay? And you can make them hit on 2s, but you can reroll 1s if you're near a Demon Prince or someone like that, or Lord. The plague weapon is letting you reroll wounds, and any roll of a 5 or a 6 to wound is a mortal wound in addition. That sounds pretty nice to me. So yeah, let me know what you think of them. Obviously, if you're within 6 inches, you can save a command point and not increase the range of all plague weapons by 6 inches, because you won't need it. Unless you're finding it hard to get all 20 guys to throw their grenades, in which case, screw it. You want to kill that unit, because I'm sorry, you will delete most things with that. Absolutely. And of course, I forgot to mention, I do apologise, you want Arch Contaminator as your Warlord trait, which lets you reroll all failed wounds when resolving attacks made by plague weapons. And that's a 7-inch aura for friendly Death Guard units. That is crazy, crazy good. Especially with stuff like this. Rerolling the wounds completely. Oh, disgusting. So that's long range, well, longish range, mid-range, done. What about short range? Up close and personal. Well, same again. We've got our Plague Marines. And let's say you want to be, you want to be stabby, get into their face, punch them up. That's absolutely fine. No problem with that kind of playstyle. I love it, in fact. Well, firstly, you want a Blight spawn. Because, I mean, he's amazing anyway. His flame is ridiculous if you roll well enough. 2d6 to determine the strength. It's insane. And basically, he lets you fight first no matter what, pretty much. Because he's got a lovely little ability called Revolting Strength. And what that does is enemy units that have charged this turn and are within 7 inches of this model at the start of the fight phase are struck by the stench. So, yeah. Such a unit does not get to fight first in the fight phase, but can be chosen to fight like other units that did not charge. This ability also affects units who have abilities that would enable them to fight first if they had charged. So, yeah. It's really good. It's really good. It stops people get their buffs and bonuses for charging. And in this new edition, it means you get to fight first no matter what. Because you get charged, right? They don't count as charging, and it's the person who's being charged that turn who gets to pick the first unit to go. So that means your Plague Marines can all get stabby before they even get a chance, even though they have been charged. It's all about positioning with this guy. And just in case you want to know how good what a Plague Sprayer is, it's 9-inch range. Assault D6, that's alright. Strength is 2d6, so it could be pants or ridiculous. -3 AP, 3 damage. And it's a plague weapon, and it automatically hits. Yeah, that's... It can be amazing, it can be terrible. So, anyway, moving on. So, the first thing you're going to be doing is probably going straight with Blades of Putrefaction, when you can, if you can. Cast it on them, because they're +1 to wound, and any 7+ to wound counts as a mortal wound. And I'm going off the perfect psychic phase here. So, you can, if you think it is necessary, give them Putrescent Vitality if you've got another Psyker available that isn't a Demon Prince, or if you've got the Malignant Plague Caster or something like that. Bringing them up to Strength 5. Okay, because that means with the +1 to wound, you're wounding Marine equivalents on 2s. Which is redonkulous. If you want to get even better than that, you can really nerf them. So if you're fighting something really, really tough, like say a Knight or something, you give them Miasmal Afflictions. And that's 2 command points though. And what that does is you pick a Plague Marine unit, and you select one enemy unit that is within 1 inch of that Plague Marine unit, and they subtract 1 from their toughness characteristic. as long as they're not in range of Mortarion's Toxic Presence ability. So you can bring a knight down to 1 lower toughness, bring your strength up, or what? Either or. It depends. You've got to weigh it out. If you're going against Custodians or something, you don't want them to be strength 5, you can get rid of that, or you can just make yourself strength 5, or you can do both. Because if you bring them down to toughness 4 and bring yourself up to strength 5 with +1 to wound, you're now wounding Custodians on 2s. Your choice completely. But that is very CP heavy. Then, if you really want to, if they've got tough armor and you've got a Blight Hauler alive nearby, you can give them Parasitic Fumes, 1 CP, and if they're within 7 inches of that Blight Hauler, they get an additional -1 AP against all your strikes. So all your plague weapons are doing -1 AP on top of that. And then you can buff again as you really want it. It depends how many CPs you're wishing to sink into this. If you're fighting something really tough that you need to bring down like a knight, you can sink in a bunch of CPs to then start doing exploding hits on 6s. I mean, you get that anyway because of Death to the False Emperor. Yeah, there's loads of cheesy stuff you can do here. You can make their attacks on a 6 be -4 AP if you really want. So to wrap it all up pretty much, you have got 60 attacks with Plague Knives if they're all in range. They're all re-rolling ones. They're +1 to wound, re-rolling to wound because you've got the Warlord trait nearby. It can get really silly. And any 6 you roll counts as a mortal wound. 6+ mortal wound to wound. Yeah. So that's really solid. If you want to play them defensively, you can absolutely. Again, Plague Marines are really good at holding objectives. If you have the Foul Blight spawn, it doesn't matter if you get charged, you're going to be hitting them first if you pick them first. You can make them toughness 6 with Putrescent Vitality, so that's going to be hard to shift. You can cast Miasma Pestilence on them, and that means your opponent must subtract 1 from all their hit rolls that target that unit. So that's even more tough. And on top of that, you can go for the company of Mortarion's Chosen Sons, stick a Plague Surgeon in there, and upgrade him for 1 command point at the start of the battle, well, before the battle starts even. He gets the, I'm going to try and say it, I'll probably butcher the name, Elmibichal Narthsium, something like that. And basically what that does is it replaces his ability for when making disgustingly resilient rolls for Mortarion's Chosen Sons infantry models. Whilst within 3 inches of this model, you can re-roll rolls of 1 or 2. That's really good. It's going to make him a hell of a lot more survivable. And don't forget, I'm going over the top with this. I'm just showing you how tough you can make them. You do not have to do all of these things. But there's one more thing you can do, which just is the cream of the cake. It's ridiculous. You spend, if the unit's 10 or fewer models, then it costs 2 command points. If it's over, then it will cost 3 command points. Until the end of that phase, when making disgusting resilient rolls, you add 1 to that roll. So you're getting disgusting resilient on a 4+, re-rolling 1s and 2s. So only a 3 will fail, really, that you can't re-roll. So, I mean, if you really, really need that clutch unit to stay right at the end of the battle, or something like that, or something really tough has got into them that you think, oh no, I might be in trouble here, you can go all out to make them toughness 6, -1 to hit, re-rolling 1s and 2s for the disgusting resilient rolls, and they can have a disgusting resilient roll of a 4+. So that's a few of the stratagems, psychic powers, combos that I can see for Plague Marines, and it seems very good, very, very good. Looking very strong for Death Guard, especially Plague Marines. I do love my Poxwalkers, but I have to admit, Plague Marines are a very good bet. Yeah, very good. Like, to the point I have bought quite a few of them to fill out my ranks in my army and to possibly replace some Poxwalkers. But I'll still play both lists because I enjoy my Poxwalker list, and depending on how well this list does, and I'm not going to be spending that many command points every turn. I won't be able to, and B, I don't need to, but yeah, we'll see how it does. and it might take over my main list when I start going to events again. But anyway, thank you ever so much for listening. And if you did like the video, do hit the like button. And if you think I've missed anything, or you don't agree with something, do tell me in the comment section down below, because I do love hearing what you think. And yeah, and sometimes I might even convince you that something is good when you don't think it is good. Other than that, if you're feeling especially saintly and the light of Nurgle has descended down upon you, do consider hitting the subscribe button. But if you don't do any of those things, I still hope you have an absolutely fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.